Good day, everyone. We're going to discuss is all about Chapter 17, the price discrimination.
Good day, I'm Anmaris Bolante, BSA 22, and I will discuss the introduction and definition of price discrimination.
So, have you ever bought an airplane or railway ticket with a first class or second class compartments or seats, which charge different fares for traveling in these two classes, which second class was many times cheaper than first class, but you receive or experience the same service, though slightly differs in each case, but the differences in fares are out of proportion to the differences in comforts provided. Or also, have you ever been have discount on jeep? Because you are a student and an ordinary person, not a student nor a senior citizen, so discount is not applied to them. Then, the topic we will talk about in this video is setting different prices for the same product and service to different groups of people at different times for different quantities which common in business. So this approach, which is called price discrimination. So in economics, it is a sales strategy. Price discrimination is also the usual price charge to a particular group of buyer, depends on what the seller think would be much acceptable to the customer. So the seller charge the customer the maximum price they will pay.
Good day po, I'm Kayunis Igrantusa, and today I will discuss about the three conditions on how price discrimination would occur.
Economists have identified three conditions that must be met for price discrimination to occur. The first condition of sufficient market power can happen if there is limited number of players in the industry like oligopolies or monopolies. Since they have high degree of influence to price, setting different prices to different customers is possible. Other businesses with high market share or being the market leader can also use price discrimination strategy. The second condition of price discrimination to happen is to determine the condition of customers based on demand elasticity. We learned from previous discussions that the higher the importance of a product or service to a customer, the lower the price elasticity of demand. Demand is lower with a higher price because customers do not consider the products or services as important. When the demand is inelastic, sellers can charge higher prices. If demand is elastic or perfectly elastic, price should be lowered to the point where customers would be buying more. Knowing the price elasticity of demand is very important in this condition. Third condition for price discrimination to occur is that the firm must have the ability to protect its own product from being resold by one consumer group to another. In other words, price discrimination should be done with direct customers or consumers. If the buyers are middlemen who would profit from the price discrimination, then the strategy is making the price go higher.
Hi everyone, my name is Patricia Gilby Francisco from BSA 22, and after we learn about the three conditions that economists identified for the price discrimination that must be met, now we're moving forward for the 3 degree under price discrimination. Price discrimination first degree is also called as pure or price discrimination. For the monopoly seller of an item or service to engage in first degree in price discrimination, they must be aware of the absolute maximum price that each customer is willing to pay. It is the most profitable type of price discrimination since the seller can sell the product or service to each customer at the highest price that they are ready to pay by understanding the reservation price. As a result, consumer surplus is converted into revenues. Therefore, the profit is the total of the surplus of the consumer and the producer. The marginal consumer is the one for whom company's marginal cost is the same as the reservation price. There is no dead weight loss since the seller produces more of their product than they would to reach monopoly profits without price discrimination. Example of this could be seen in the marketplaces where customers compete for the contracts or deals. But under these circumstances, corrupt business tendering might decrease the market efficiency.
Hi, I am Vincent Belmonte Galicia from BSA 22. Today, I'm going to discuss the second degree price discrimination. The first one is price varies according to the quantity demanded. Only the demand for the product and its price change. Price and quantity demanded have an inverse relationship. They refer to this as the law of demand. If the price goes up, the quantity demanded goes down or vice versa. This is particularly widespread in sales to industrial customers where bulk buyers enjoy discounts. The second one is sellers are not able to differentiate the different types of consumers. That's why the suppliers will give consumers or customers incentives to distinguish themselves based on preference, which is accomplished through the quantity discounts or non-linear pricing. This allows the suppliers to set different prices to the different groups and capture a larger portion of the total market surplus. The last but not the least, different pricing may apply to differences in product quality as well as quantity. The law of supply states that a higher price leads to a higher quantity supply and a lower price leads to a lower quantity supply. For example, airlines often offer multiple classes of seats on flights, such as first class and economy class. With the first class, passengers receiving wine, beer, and spirits with their ticket, and the economy passengers offered only juice, pop, and water. This is a way to differentiate consumers based on preference, and therefore allows the airline to capture more consumers' surplus.
Jana Ishi Martinez, 2-2. Third degree. With third-degree price discrimination, businesses seek to increase sales by identifying various market segments with various pricing elasticities, such as home and industrial users. Markets need to be maintained apart in terms of time, distance, and type of use. As for example, the subway, the travelers can be subdivided into commuter and casual travelers, and cinema goers can be subdivided into adults and children, with some theaters also offering discounts to full-time students and seniors. Two-part tariff. Another type of price discrimination is two-part tariff, in which the manufacturer levies an initial fee and a follow-up fee for the usage of the good. The pricing policy produces outcomes resembling second-degree price discrimination. The fundamental idea underlying price discrimination is that a company is attempting to take advantage of various price elasticity of demand. People who have inelastic demand are willing to spend more for goods and services. The company's revenue and earnings can rise if it can raise pricing for these customers. Due to the elastic demand of other consumers, they will be more responsive to price reduction and special offers. If the business can segregate these consumers and so lessen their consumer surplus, it will benefit. Price discrimination may occur in the real world when a slight different good is charged a different price.
Hello, I am Carlo Fraga and I am here to discuss the price discrimination in an airline company. Firms would undertake price discrimination in order to increase profits by exploiting and absorbing consumer surplus. So an example of this is the following graphical illustration, where an airline company charges different prices on its flights. So we can see here that 300 pounds for popular times, 180 pounds for early flights, and 250 pounds for the regular flight times. Let us notice here that the elasticity coefficients were determined. Price elasticity of demand is less than 1 for popular flight times, and with early flights having a price elasticity of demand that is greater than 1. What does this mean? The three diagrams show the different consumer groups with their variant demand curves. Starting with diagram 3, this is the overall market demand curve. The firm maximizes profits at MR is equals to MC, and hence, the whole market A plus B is produced. Next, with diagram 2, having a greater than 1 price elasticity of demand means that demand is elastic. That is, demand for the product is sensitive to an increase in price. We can notice in the diagram that the marginal cost line intersects the MR curve at QS, and therefore the price would be PS. Finally, with diagram 1, having a less than 1 price elasticity of demand means that demand is inelastic. This can be interpreted as consumers being insensitive to changes in price. We can see here that the marginal cost curve intersects the marginal revenue curve at QA, and hence the price of PA is charged PA is greater than 1, as diagram 1 shows, an inelastic demand curve, and hence these consumers are more willing to pay than the elastic customers, of whom will face a lower price than the whole market. The consumers traveling on early flights are charged £180, which is significantly lower than what the whole market pays in the regular flight times, which is £250. Moving on to the application as to how an airline practices price discrimination. Number 1 would be the time of buying a ticket. Usually, a ticket that is bought in advance is cheaper. This is to attract early customers who are more sensitive to price. But if the tickets for a flight are selling well, it can afford to charge higher prices for the remaining few tickets, so that it can only be bought by people willing to buy at a higher price. And the airline can also reduce the price if the tickets are not selling well. What the airline does is, they are trying to capture as much consumer surplus as possible. Ideally, the airline would like to fill up the plane with passengers paying the most they are willing to pay, because there is no point in selling very cheap prices and having the flight sold out many weeks in advance. And that is the very point of price discrimination. It is to maximize their profit. A next situation would be that unsocial hours are cheaper. This is because less people tend to travel at those times, or that some flight times are less popular. For example, if you take a weekend break, most people would prefer to come back late on Sunday. These late Sunday flights tend to be more expensive than early morning Sunday flights, since it is more popular and hence create more demand.
Hello everyone, my name is Sharina Micaela Tongohan from BSA 22. I'll be the one in charge to continue the discussion about the application of price discrimination on the services offered by airline companies. With that, let's move on with the third application, charging for extras. Some examples of this includes the following. The logic for these extra charges is that they enable a more efficient allocation of resources. Customers who are willing to pay for premium services gain the services they desire. Airlines raise extra revenue, which in theory enables lower average ticket prices. Customers who are very price sensitive gain cheaper tickets and can reject all the extra charges. Another example is when you travel. Say for example, airfares from London to New York during the month of October. For Monday to Friday, the cheapest fare was over 68,000. However, when it's a trip during the weekends, the price falls from 68,000 to 24,000. Do you have any idea why this happens? The explanation is because businessmen are the primary travelers from Monday to Friday. Their demand tends to be more inelastic because it is paid for the company expenses. Individuals who are more flexible and willing to travel at the weekend tends to be more sensitive to price and have a more elastic demand. Airfares also vary depending on the time of the year. During peak summer holidays, airfares are more expensive. Last but not the least, applications can be found on the air miles offered by airline companies. Air miles pertains to the points equivalent to miles of pre-air travel accumulated by buyers of airline tickets and other products that's redeemable against the cost of air travel with a particular airline. Air miles is not exactly a sample of price discrimination, but rather a way of rewarding loyal customers. The more times an individual travels with a particular airline, the more air miles he'll get in return. These air miles can be used to avail for a discount in his or her next flight. Before we end this presentation, we've got a few questions to ask you first. First one is, does price discrimination increase revenue for airlines? Yes, it does. Most of the costs associated with flying are fixed costs: wages, fuel, landing charges, and many more. Therefore, in order to maximize the revenue, the airline will try and sell all the tickets. Airlines also advertise as low basic tickets, but when you pay for all the extras, you'll end up spending a lot more than what's planned. As for the second question, why are there no student discounts for airline travel? It's possibly because a 10% discount of an airline fare is greater than a 10% discount of a bus fare. This amount of discount might be unprofitable for an airline. However, did you know that airfare discount for students was already proposed under the Student Fare Discount Act? You heard it right. A hearing on the 20% airfare student discount was set by the Civil Aeronautics Board last 2019. The said discount is part of the Student Fare Discount Act that President Duterte signed into law last April of the same year. Filipino students in elementary, secondary, technical, vocational, and higher education institutions can avail of the 20% fare discount. However, students in postgraduate degree courses and informal short-term courses such as dancing, swimming, Music and driving lessons and seminar type of courses are not entitled to this discount privilege. And that's the type of presentation for Chapter 13 Price Discrimination. We hope you've learned a lot from us. Thank you and keep safe, everyone.